Ongoing joint Arab-Islamic summit, world leaders seek ceasefire and humanitarian crises in Gaza.
To stand firm in our resolve and to work towards peaceful coexistence.
Enhancing climate financing tops agenda at Conference of Parties, COP29. Nigeria reaffirms commitment to digital trade protocol. Hello and welcome to the news desk at 3 live on Nta News24. I am Comfort Amadu. Good to have you join us. Now, the joint Arab-Islamic summit is currently going on in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Finding a diplomatic end to the Israel-Hamas crisis tops the agenda, with world leaders emphasizing collective need to end the war in Gaza and humanitarian crisis. President Bola Tinubu is leading Nigeria's delegation to the summit. He says that the world has a moral obligation to end the war, as he advocates a two-state solution and compromise to bringing hostility to a halt.
I call upon all of us to come together in solidarity, to stand firm in our resolve, and to work towards peaceful coexistence, free from fear and violence. Together we can turn the vision of a two-state solution into reality. I say until then, we cannot relent.
Conference of Parties, COP29 begins in Baku, Azerbaijan, where for the next 2 weeks, nations will be focusing on climate finance and holding each other accountable for every action taken to limit or aggravate global warming. Our environment correspondent, Charles Alpha, is on the ground in Azerbaijan to tell us more about how the event is unfolding. Hello, Charles.
Stadium in Baku, where the annual international gathering of countries that are signatories to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change are camping in search of tangible solutions to defining issues of our time. Yesterday, delegates started arriving to get their registration done and get down to business. So about 198 countries comprising governments, businesses and civil societies organizations are here to push for a lot of things, and climate finance, among other things, will be the focus of a global climate action needed for Earth to stay well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. At COP28 last year, developed countries like France, the United States, China, Germany, oil-rich Saudi Arabia made huge financial commitment to the loss and damage funds. But the questions here will be how many nations have been able to access these funds. So one of the agreements reached at COP28 back then in Dubai was the fact that countries agreed that nations should strive to keep temperatures well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. But what happened last year, we also saw a situation where the month of July was regarded as one of the warmest months in the year 2023. But new data has now revealed that in fact 2024 will be the most warmest year in the history of mankind. And what it means is that nations here are going to be holding themselves accountable for every action taken to mitigate, to limit or aggravate global warming. Executive Secretary of the United Nations Climate Change, Simon Still, in his opening remarks this morning, said one single COP can't deliver the full transformation that every nation needs, but as they meet here in Azerbaijan, they will be hoping government, business, and civil society organizations will strike a balance to deal with the extreme weather events we all saw this year. For Nigeria, the National Council on Climate Change Secretariat, before this COP, had engaged negotiators whom they believe can deliver on all fronts for Nigeria.
The impact of climate change does not have boundaries. It affects each and every one of us. And so the talk at the plenary is, how do you drive resilience? How do you scale up resilience? How do you build resilience? Because without building resilience, we cannot talk about addressing climate action, climate change in the world over. And so how do we close the gap? How do we address this? Finance, finance, finance. And that is what this COP is about.
All of this is tended towards having a concrete roadmap that will help mitigate the impact of climate change in not just Nigeria, but every other country, especially the developing countries.
All right, thank you so much, Charles Alpha, for the update from the COP29 there taking place in Baku. Now, German ambassador to Nigeria has called for an increased focus on vocational training and skill acquisition as critical components to strengthening Nigeria's economy. The German ambassador, who was speaking on improving economic ties with Nigeria, emphasizes that Germany has strong track record in vocational education, which could serve as a model for Nigeria that will enable the country build a more diversified and skilled workforce.
One sector, particularly vocational training, skills development. That is an area where we are very much engaged, both for Nigerians who want to find their jobs here, but also for Nigerians who might want to go and work in Germany. And also, the growth of the economy is very important for the well-being of the population, for the improvement of the socio-economic situation of all Nigerians. But this growing economy also needs skills, needs trained workforce. So I think this is where we can come in. Germany has a very good experience in vocational training, and we're doing already a lot. There is more potential to do that. There are German companies who are already involved in our programs of vocational training. But this is, I think, where we can really make a difference.
Nigeria and Germany historically have strong trade relations, with Germany being one of Nigeria's largest trading partners in the European Union. The main exports from Nigeria to Germany include oil, gas, and agriculture products, while Germany exports machineries, vehicles, chemicals, and industrial goods to Nigeria.
His Excellency President Tinubu's visit to Germany, where he visited also a big business conference. I think since then we have seen a very strong increase in German companies' interest in Nigeria. We get many requests. We have many companies here, about 90 to 100, who are mostly trading. Some are also producing. I always like to use the example of Nivea.
With many German companies already active in Nigeria, there is a significant potential for further collaboration in this area to foster economic growth and reduce unemployment. Elsewhere, Minister of Trade Investment Jumoke Oduwole says the government of Nigeria is dedicated to enhancing digital infrastructure across all state parties, while emphasizing the importance of robust personal data protection, provisions to foster trust and prevent cybercrimes and fraud. This was at the 15th meeting of the African Continental Free Trade Area in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Jumoke says Nigeria acknowledges the significant strides made with the Protocol on Digital Trade, which offers pragmatic rules designed to drive digital transformation across the continent. Now, the protocol is set to bolster the growth and utilization of African digital platforms and computing facilities by African-owned small and medium enterprises within state parties. The minister believes that the seamless operationalization of new protocol will serve as a catalyst for economic development by increasing trade, creating jobs, and reducing poverty, as well as optimizing the industrial structure of the continent. Minister of Art, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy Hannatu Musawa says Africa's participation in the G20 Ministers of Culture is meeting an achievement for Africa's cultural diplomacy. Ngufan Shaji Ugwanye reports that Musa made this known at the Salvador Convention Center in Brazil at the weekend, where she led the African Union to deliberate on Africa's rich cultural heritage and its role in promoting economic growth, social cohesion and global understanding. The minister, who doubles as the first vice chairperson of the Bureau of the Specialized Technical Committee on Youth, Culture and Sports in the African Union membership of 55 states, also appreciated the G20 members for including Africa in the World Group. Notably, the minister held bilateral discussions with Brazil's Minister of Culture, especially on the rehabilitation of Nigeria's cultural house in Salvador as a vital center for preserving cultural heritage and supporting the Nigerian Destination 2030 initiative. In other news, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, is seeking lawmakers' support for increased funding to be able to effectively carry out its mandate, especially tackling financial crimes emanating from emerging technologies. This is as the Anti-Graft Agency played host to the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption, led by the chairman Emmanuel Udende, during a pre-budget oversight to the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. We're live in Abuja on Nta News 24. More stories ahead on Go Away. Four more Nigerians have won elections into various elective positions. They are United States-born Nigerian Dr. Oye Owolewa, District of Columbia, Chiaka Bari, Guinea District, Australia, Shegun Adeyino, and Georgia, USA, and Yemi Mobolade, Colorado Spring, USA. In a congratulatory message to them, NITCOM Chairman Abike Dabiri Erewa hailed their victory at the polls and applauded them for breaking such records in the political arena of their different places of residence and setting standards. While Dr. Oye was re-elected as the shadow representative for the District of Columbia under the Democratic Party, Chiaka Bari got elected into the Australian Capital Territory Act. Legislative Assembly covering the Guinea District under the Liberal Party, Shegun Adeyino was re-elected as state representative of District 110, Georgia, USA, and Adeyemi Mobolade elected as the mayor of Colorado Springs in 2023, making history as the first black person to attain such feat. Dabiri Erewa commended their relentless efforts and strive to success, urging them to keep up the resilient spirit as they carry out their duties respectively. And a remarkable display of gratitude and support, alumni association across the nation are stepping up to give back to their alma maters. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria reiterate the spirit of giving as not just strengthening institutional ties but also cultivating vibrant community dedication to lifelong learning and growth. Lydia Sampson reports.
Funding scholarships to enhancing campus facilities, these former students are making a significant impact on current and future generations. Alumni of Usmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto, shared their success stories, emphasizing how their education shaped their careers and lives.
It does not just go beyond going back to the university, doing projects. I was in school with you. We were in class together. Today, maybe Providence is smiling on me and not smiling on you. I should remember those good days when we soaked Gary together, and I should come to your rescue.
When you did 001.
Thank you. I should. All these are part of alumni activities.
Observe that the youths are blending into the academic community by assisting the students and also picking up various petty trading businesses around, and even being employed in various departments as staff.
So we are gradually elevating certificates, instead of just certificates. So certification is becoming the trend in the world today. It's not just how you read and write. You must be able to put hands on the barrel and make a product and make something out of it.
They acknowledge initiatives like mentorship programs, reunions, and guest lectures foster connection between past and present students, enriching the academic experience. They are passionate about building partnerships and showcasing their skills in a positive way to uphold their institution as a peaceful and detribalized environment where students are encouraged to grow stronger through learning. They believe if replicated by all alumni, Nigerian universities and other tertiary institutions will become more successful in their efforts to develop their students. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, Nta News.
The Nigerian Customs Service is intensifying partnerships to bolster economic operations and enhancing trade facilitation. This will top the agenda and issues at the 2024 Comptroller General Conference holding in Abuja. Providing more information on the conference, guests on Good Morning Nigeria say under the leadership of the Comptroller General Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, the Nigerian Customs Service aims to deepen collaboration with local and international stakeholders, including security agencies and customs brokers, to optimize revenue generation and combat smuggling.
That is, the land borders are going to be manned from aerial surveillance, and that is using the satellite technology. We are moving into the geospatial intelligence era, and so many things are coming in to make things smooth and easy for customs operations.
So if you have non-intrusive inspection, one, there will be trade facilitation. Two, things that you cannot detect in your what you call 100% examination will be detected easily, and you facilitate trade. Those are the issues we are doing to see if we can reduce and mitigate the rate of smuggling. Now look at our borders. We are trying to come up with them. It's not always coercive, always force. Sometimes you have to use persuasion. Sometimes you have to communicate effectively. Now, the CGC, in his wisdom, we are coming up with a comprehensive CSR policy, which we don't have one before. That CSR policy will give us an avenue to see how we can engage with border communities.
They noted the introduction of Authorized Economic Operator Program further exemplifies this strategy, offering benefits to compliant businesses while aligning with global best practices. They are emphatic that by leveraging technology and fostering constructive engagements, the Nigerian Customs Service is poised to significantly impact Nigerians' economic landscape. Now, ahead of the much-anticipated legal framework on promoting circular economy in Nigeria, the National Environmental Standards Regulation and Enforcement Agency, continues stakeholders' engagement and advocacy to water the ground. NGOs and grassroots partners benefited from the latest sensitization held in Abuja. Environment correspondent Nta Daniels was there.
The efforts put together by the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency NESRA to combat the menace of plastic waste and promote circular economy has yielded fruits, with a legal infrastructure soon to emerge. The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Abbas Lawal, started this during a sensitization program organized for non-governmental organization by NESRA.
Together, we can educate communities on the dangers of single-use plastics, promote sustainable alternatives, for example, reusable bags, refillable bottles, support policy changes.
NESRA wants NGOs to take responsibility and begin the change from individual actions, as well as use their wealth of experience as frontliners to take the message to the hinterlands.
We think that we need to begin to sensitize them to the emerging and the evolving system that is coming. Where the legal framework emerges, nobody will say that it doesn't know that this is what is emerging.
Participants from various NGOs as well as stakeholders pledged support to NESRA in the fight to rid the environment of single-use plastics and curtail its menace in a bid to sustain environmental health.
Waste pickers are very, very important in the circular economy value chain.
We buy granite in one ladder, we buy this in another ladder and what have you, but when we go with our basket, that will save us from wastage.
The sensitization featured a hybrid technical session and offered a platform for exchange of ideas and networking aimed at changing the narrative. In Abuja, Nta Daniels, Nta News.
You're watching the news desk at 3 on Nta News 24. Here's a quick look at our major stories. Ongoing joint Arab-Islamic summit, world leaders seek ceasefire and end to humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
To stand firm in our resolve and to work towards peaceful coexistence.
Enhancing climate financing tops agenda at Conference of Parties, COP29. Nigeria reaffirms commitment to digital trade protocol.
This is Nta News 24.
Now, the electoral process in Nigeria has seen significant strides with new innovations and greater transparency. Ahead of the forthcoming Ondo governorship election, a symposium has held in Abuja to deliberate on areas of improvements with a view to furthering how elections are conducted and even strengthened further, especially going forward into the 2027 general elections. Dennis Adegunloye reports.
Since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999, the country has had several elections from 2003 to 2023, with the off-cycle elections also coming into play. In recent years, there have been significant efforts to address various impediments to smooth electoral processes, including the introduction of biometric voting systems and the deployment of international observers to monitor the electoral process. At this symposium, organized by the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, and as part of its Deepening Democracy series, attention is focusing on the strengthening of institutions, in this case, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), and the need for it to be independent in the truest sense of the word.
We say that you must have a system of electoral management that is clear, transparent, where results can be determined and the clarity of those results are established so that everybody knows who has won.
Deliberations also interrogated issues surrounding how systems cannot operate in a vacuum, but rather are most effective when the right people are at the helm of affairs.
Dialectical relationship between individuals and institutions. And when we have this interconnection, they strengthen each other, they rub off on each other. That's why sometimes we have very strong, determined individuals being able to change institutions.
How do we conceive power in such a way that the man who exercises and wields power wields it in the public, in the public interest?
If you go to collect money at a POS machine, you get a receipt, true of us. That printer becomes your ballot paper. You have that ballot paper stick into the ballot box. After the election is over, the polling is over, we tally both the electronic and the paper, the ballots. When it agrees, you send the one electronically.
If our judges decide to wear the garb of judicial activism, I believe they will be bold enough to dispense justice and not judgment.
A multi-stakeholder electoral board, and that should be the responsibility of that board to first of all at least primarily nominate or select and only recommend what you have selected to the presidency to assent to.
We need again to focus a lot more on the political parties and their capacity, willingness to comply with the rules.
A national action plan is expected to be formulated with a view to full implementation to foster greater public confidence in the electoral process going forward. Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
Many thanks, Dennis Adegunloye, and that concludes the news at this time. I'm Comfort Amodu. Many thanks for watching.